Good evening, CAN TV viewers. Thank you for tuning in to the Doty Report on Comprehensive Health. My name is Yolanda, and I am your host. And this is actually our final show for this season. We won't be back until April, but I'm very excited. Georgia Doty, the Doty Report is a segment of the Georgia Doty Comprehensive Health Organization, a nonprofit organization that has been serving the Chicago community for 20 plus years, being a health advocate, a health educator, and really working to bridge the gap of the health disparities that we know exist within our communities. I always like to give a shout out to the CEO and founder of the Georgia Doty organization, Mr. Don Doty, and his wife, Miss Joyce. How are you guys doing today? We are so excited to have our guests. We are here to talk about a very important topic. We're here to talk about mental health and suicide and depression, and she is a woman of wisdom, I must say. And I am going to introduce her, give a little bit tidbit about her, and then we're going to get right into the conversation. As you know, that we encourage you to call in with questions and even comments. So let me get this show started. We have with us today Karlie Grace. Yes. Grace Coaching and Consulting is her company. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She has a master's in education, currently offers life enhancement coaching along with intervention techniques for stress, anxiety, trauma, and PTSD that are designed for individual, families, communities, and business settings. She works with the brain, not the mind. Karlie Grace has over 45 years of experience, has a tremendous background, a wealth of information. She is a public speaker and an Amazon best-selling author. She is still serving the community as currently she is the president of the Already Always Amazing nonprofit organization. So let's get into this conversation with Miss Karlie Grace. Thank you so much for being here. I am honored to have you.
And I am most honored to be here. And I'd like to thank the Georgia Doty Comprehensive Health for just having this programming, bringing these topics to your community. I applaud all the work that he does and, well, they do and that they get done. For the seniors and the veterans with HIV and hepatitis. So we know that there is a good work, and I'm just grateful to have this opportunity to share with you.
Well, thank you. We're going to be, again, like I mentioned, it's about mental health is very important. Sometimes it's overlooked, sometimes we don't discuss it, but stress, anxiety, suicide, especially during this time of the year. I just want to show really quick some resources that we will come back to later. Here we have some resources for suicide prevention. If you or you know someone who just needs to talk to someone, needs to chat, here are some numbers and websites that you can reach out to because it is very, very important that you are able to know that you're not alone and that you're able to have a conversation with someone. So we're going to talk about that a little bit with Miss Karlie Grace. So my first question, of course, is this is the holiday season. We are compounded with so much going on. How does depression show up during this time of the year?
Well, let me just start with just a little bit about depression first.
Okay,
and just
absolutely.
Let's look at some of the 2016 National Institute of Mental Health stats, and that it has an estimated 16.2 million adults in the U.S. that had at least one major depressive episode in that year. And that's about 7% when you think about it, 6.7%. That's just in 1 year.
Wow.
But we know that depression impacts all different ages.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
we also know that this is, if we could look at this one, this gives a brief picture of the major depressive episode with impairment among adults. So as you can see that you have a little higher percentage rate, the 8.5 with females, with the largest or the highest rate being those in the 18 to 25.
Wow.
And that's at a 10.9%. And then it kind of goes down. And it's up and down, and you can see there's some variances based on race and ethnicity.
Right.
So that's a lot of us that have that. And then I want to share, not only is it the adults, but we are also very aware of what's going on with adolescents.
Right.
So let's look very quickly. I said that higher number. There we go. But again, when you're looking at the 12 to 17-year-olds, we know that they have this stat right here with females at a 19.4 in that age range with the depressive episodes. And again, seeing that it starts to climb as they enter the teenage years, and by the time they're 16 and 17, they're really at over 17%.
Wow.
So when you look at that, that's like 2.2 million youth. And that's about 9% of our 12 to 17-year-olds. This is just the U.S. alone that are experiencing that.
And she's talking about depression. For those of you that are tuning in through CAN TV and watching on Facebook Live, we know that depression, especially during this time of the year, is just rampant. So she's here to have some conversation with us and hopefully give some of us some tips on how to deal with it.
Well, as we are looking at that, we know too, I want to add that there is even more depression and suicidal inclinations with our youth. And that's even below those that are 12 years old. So they're starting to identify and get an inkling that it's in maybe possibly at 3 to 5-year-olds as well.
Wow.
So we know that this is something that we are certainly dealing with as a society. So the severity and the frequency of how long a depressive episode might last varies by individual. It depends on them and their situation, and it often occurs, or it can occur, when there's another disease or injury that has taken place. If you've had to have heart surgery of some kind, or you have diabetes, whatever that might be, loss of a limb, loss of a sense of, I've just now met this situation, and I know I'm not going to have the same capacity to be in life as I have been. So we know, that it does have its toll, and it takes its toll on all of us.
Okay.
So
how does, what might somebody experience or feel when they're having a depression episode?
Well, let me share this. There are times, and especially around the holidays, when I think many of us may have either have or have had some time that we weren't feeling in the cheeriest mode.
Okay.
That season of light was possibly looking a whole lot darker to a lot of people. And this whole thing, as I was looking at this, it came to mind about a party I'd been to on Christmas Eve years ago, and after dinner we all gathered around. It happened to be a therapist, but anyhow, gathered around the tree, and his proposal was that we all shared something about our past Christmases, the one that was bah humbug, a Scrooge type of Christmas, and then he wanted to counter it with our best.
Our best, okay.
But I would let you know, I was with everyone else. I could go back and say, all right, this one was kind of tenuous. This one wasn't, and it ended up okay, but there were things getting to that holiday or two that really made me wonder. So we all have our own brand and form of dysfunction. Our families are what they are. They bring their own stories, dramas, and traumas, and then we exist in that.
Right.
But it was easy in that situation to see that it was everybody.
Right.
But when
that's important. Oh, we have a caller. Caller, are you there? Did we lose you, caller?
No, I'm here.
Oh, you have a question?
Yes, when I was director of marketing for United Healthcare, they did a study on the CHA home, the projects. And back in the 60s and 70s, they were a lot of lead in the painting and lead in the materials.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that was a cause. Was that a cause of depression and some mental health conditions that are rising today?
Lead-based, I believe I understood you to say was lead, which used to be much more prevalent as being in paints and cribs, just more prevalent in households and different buildings. I would say yes, that has been known to lead to depression, but there is not nearly as much. I believe, I can't say for sure what percentage, but that has been greatly taken down over the years, because if a facility is known and a realtor has to disclose that there is some lead-based paint or that would even be in houses, that has to be disclosed. So I'd say yes, it has had, and I know also it led to those who might have mental retardation. So the lead in the past has really done its duty in terms of being harmful to us all.
Right.
Thank you for your question.
Right. Thank you for the question, caller. So let's get into, you said that you work with the brain and not the mind. Let's talk about that. What does that mean?
Well, I do work with the brain and not the mind, and that may take a second to sink in. As we are looking at the mind, we also know that that's what's typically used when you're going through some kind of talk therapy. It takes and catalogs and organizes and interprets all our thoughts, all the experiences as they happen to us. And again, that's primarily what's addressed when someone's in therapy.
Okay.
And then when you are in the brain, you're actually looking at surviving in the moment. The brain's job is to help us survive ourselves. And to survive ourselves, it's totally present in the now. So anyhow, when we work with the brain, it's a matter of working and bringing the negatives down and being present in the now so that we can move forward. And I was going to say, it's a little bit different, and what I'm going to be sharing about is an intervention versus being able to look at therapy. It isn't therapy, it's an intervention, and there are techniques that we do introduce.
Okay, so can we talk about those techniques? And I believe the name of it, is it Brain Sweep?
It is Brain Sweep.
Okay, so what is Brain Sweep?
Okay, when you're looking at Brain Sweep, it is a matter of moving into the brain using the neurons and the neuroglia. And that is accessing the brain. It's a brain to body to brain kind of mechanics that we're working with. So in this instance, the brain is able to be trained to become much more responsive instead of reactive.
Okay.
When we're working from the mind, we have all of these things that, like I said, that you've cataloged and put aside, and it's our habits, it's our perceptions, and perceptions change.
Right.
And your perception and mine of the same situation can be very, very different. So we are looking at staying in the now, where the brain is, and training it to be much more efficient so that it is able, like I said, to respond.
To do what it's supposed to do.
To do what it does. And then when the two work together, because the brain does monitor the mind, and if they're on purpose, then they're unbeatable.
Okay. Okay. And so who is this for? And if someone is depressed or stressed or having anxiety, is it for families? Who is it for?
Well, Yolanda, I'd say the primary target would be to work with the household. So if you're working with the household, that would be whoever's existing there. And these techniques are designed specifically to address whatever past or current traumas or stressors that are going on in that household as it relates to the community. And these techniques are easy enough for even children to learn, and they do learn. And so when you have the whole household that's encompassed, you've really made a shift in the overall quality of their life and living. But when people then leave the household, they go out into their community, and as Mr. Rogers would say, who are the people in your neighborhood? So you go to work, and so you have workplace and the workplace stressors. You have all your first responders and the types of situations they have to deal with. That's the police and the fire, the EMTs, also looking at where people are in the hospital, and all those healthcare workers and doctors that are overworked and stressed. They're also everyone. When you start to go through the list, there are a lot of people who are impacted.
Right.
And even our schools.
Right. Absolutely.
And we know now how stressed teachers and students are.
Absolutely.
Just based on all of the common community areas we don't know anymore. And so there's kind of a sense of trauma or danger that we're all responding to, even when we're watching the news.
Right.
But when you're working with brain sweep techniques, you really are looking at anyone who's experienced trauma. Could be, if we went just even recently out to the West Coast with those people who've lost their homes.
Who've lost everything.
Lost everything, and were driving just to get out of the fire with their cars.
Right.
Or go out to the East Coast and look at their hurricanes and the flooding that they've experienced.
I think that people, some of the stress and anxieties, and we don't seek out help because people don't realize that those things are traumatic, and the trauma that it has on I don't know, there's some, either in the smallest thing of, I can't even think of me being in a car accident and how traumatic it was for me, and how I still have moments when if I look in my rearview mirror, I almost have a panic attack. But people don't see that as being something that could be like a traumatic experience.
It is.
Okay.
It can be, and it is. And because of what's happening to you, the brain, when the brain is surviving you, like I said, it survives us 5 seconds at a time. So it's always looking to see how are we going to keep you safe, keep you alive. And when your situation happened, based on the intensity of whatever trauma is going on, there's a time ratio, and the brain decides whether or not it needs to totally shut down the mind goes into total 100% reflex.
Okay.
I don't know if you experienced slow-mo as you were doing whatever was happening.
Yeah, I did.
That was the brain operating.
You know what? I really, really did, but I had no idea what was going on.
But anyhow, you survived it.
Yeah.
And so we do know that's a form of trauma, even, post-traumatic stress. And with nanotechnology now, the new ways they have to look at the brain and study it, we're finding out so much we've never known before. It's incredible, and we can see what's going on. But we do know in the medical world that post-traumatic stress isn't a mental illness. They know that it's a looping in the brain, and it's like for you to have it come back up occasionally, it means that the brain is just obsessing on really getting these the survival technique or the skills that it had. It's like it's working to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
And so so you can actually go back into actual chemistry of the body when that happens, and there are different things that can trigger that. And then you actually go back and totally replaying that situation again.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that. But that's exactly what my brain be doing. Because I'm thinking, this is not going to happen to me anymore. Wow. Okay.
Right.
So how does neurokinesis, am I saying it right? How does it work? And, what are the benefits? And, what's the connection with that and trying to tackle depression?
Well, when we look at depression, the traumatic events, well, you know, you said it yourself. It's not just one event or somebody, you know, that the police have dealt with in their situation, their house is burned or whatever, or somebody that's returned from military combat. It's those everyday stressors. And if you were to look at your life, any of us here, and say, what are those stressors that are going on? And do I know who I am? Do I know where I'm going? What's the next step? I've lost my way. I just know something happened and I'm not feeling like everything's right.
Not feeling myself.
Not feeling myself. And I've lost my sense of zest for living. And then there are transitions. Have you moved? You know, how much has changed since you moved? Are you feeling disconnected and out of sorts? And there are the stressors that we go through, the ones that say, I've just got to go numb myself. And there are those who numb themselves with alcohol, other drugs, or worse. And there's other stressors that can create the rage, the frustration. You know, the frustration itself can bring rage, where you might be in a situation where you're actually likely to cause damage or harm to yourself or to the ones that you love, or when you're mean to you or you're mean to them. So those things build and they weigh down. And so the cause is different for everyone. There's different factors involved. There's the biological, the psychological, environmental, and more that's involved in what sets one individual up. So as we're looking at that, I want to talk about the neurokinesis and how does that work. So if we could just go to this one, and I'll just cover this. The brain sweep neurokinesis intervention, it's immediate and it's consistent, and it achieves positive results because it rapidly acts on the neurons and the neuroglia in the brain, and as connected to enhance the efficiency of the brain. So we're working on enhancing the brain, having the capacity to be in charge more so of the mind. So the brain functions in the now, so the results we get, they also happen in the now. And so the brain is quickly taught how to immediately be able to relieve any perceived stressors that are occurring in the now. And we pull past things into our now, and we're making our decisions and choices based on past instead of being able to respond to it right now. So as these simple techniques are learned and practiced on a consistent basis, the brain is trained to be responsive rather than reactive.
Okay.
And just an example might be a child mishandling a plate of food at a family dinner and accidentally drops it. Not what you want to have happen, but somebody reacts and starts to go yell, and this poor little person shrinks and is embarrassed in front of the family. If the brain is trained to respond, then you're going to make higher, wiser choices and then respond to that child and perhaps talk to them about, well, how do you think that happened? And what would your choice be in the future so that we don't have this kind of situation? So you're actually able to be there. And then that's much easier and nicer for that child versus the trauma.
We have another caller.
Okay.
Caller, are you there?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
We can. How are you?
All right. That brain sweep sounds pretty swell. Where can I go to find some more information about it?
Well, at the end, I believe Yolanda will give you the call-in number, and if you want more information, I'll be happy to speak with you at another time and share more.
Absolutely. So we will post it on the Georgia Doty inc.org, the website. I will post the information on my Facebook page, which you can find me, Yolanda Givens. Or if you want to call and leave your number or email address, we'll make sure that we get that information to you. And we are going to share some other resources just before we begin to wrap up. Is that okay with you, caller? Did we lose them?
I don't know if we lost them, but thank you so much.
Thank you, caller. We're definitely going to make sure that we get this information out. So I know we only have maybe like 4 minutes.
Okay. Well, then let me very quickly just talk about some of the benefits of learning this. And if you wanted to go to our piece, get it straight here. So when you are learning these, and they can be learned very quickly, easily, and they're safe. And the intervention is in 5 or 6 sessions for an individual, and a household is 22 sessions. And then that takes care of moving that family out of their current or past types of traumas that they've been dealing with. And you actually find out in your very first session that you get results.
Okay.
Most people are pretty amazed, and oftentimes people are skeptical that these will work, but we do have a study that was done. We've done our due diligence that had results for over 60,000, and they all self-reported in this study that they experienced positive results after using this for 28 days.
Okay.
And this study has been reviewed by doctors, so that's available too for anyone that's interested. So not only that, as you increase your results daily versus taking months or years, you're going to find out how quickly you can start to have a difference in your life. These are science-based neurokinesis techniques, and as I said, even if you're skeptical and don't believe, it'll work anyway, despite that. And there's confidentiality, and you're not disclosing any of your painful or traumatic experiences. So, and it's confidential. Most sessions take place online, and so if you happen to be in the military, it would also help you keep your health benefits. Because you can even be anonymous. We don't even have to know who you are for you to learn these lifelong skills that you take forward with you in your life. And so just another piece I would share is, if I could, just change this and look at the results and what we can get done. Whoops, is that in there? There we go. The results that we can get done, because we teach you, and then you self-administer. You use the techniques yourself. You don't need me, depend on me. Once you learn them, they're yours. So they're done for you and by you. So you are the one that is working on you privately. But what you can get done is to clear addictions, your bad memories, anxiety, your own blame, shame, and your own pain.
Wow. And
it can eliminate or greatly bring down and injure depression, flashbacks, nightmares, mood swings, rage episodes, and even sleep disturbances. These things somehow are all interrelated, and by using these techniques, it's amazing what you can get done, and I believe most people are highly surprised but very appreciative.
Right. So we are down to 1 minute. So I have to definitely thank Miss Karlie Grace for coming and sharing something new. Definitely something new for me. I think one of the most important things is that we know that depression and stress and anxiety and mental health is very, very real. But there are resources out there. There are resources out there to help you deal with it. And this brain suite seems to be one new, innovative, different. If anyone out there is experiencing feelings of suicide, they know someone who's experiencing feelings of suicide, here's Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Talk, you can chat, text, call 911. We have a number here if you're a veteran. We have a number for the deaf and the hearing impaired, and even if you speak Spanish. So there are resources. That is what's very important for everyone to know, that there are resources. And I know we got to go, so I have to give Miss Karlie an opportunity for some final words before we wrap up.
Thank you so much, Yolanda, and I'm just very grateful for what this Doty Report show gets done. And I would let you all know that one of these resources is a Closing the Door to Suicide. These are YouTube videos. They're available anytime, and they introduce people to some of the techniques. So anytime you want to go, there's half a dozen or so, and you can definitely get help there.
So we will have this stuff on the GeorgiaDotyInc.org website, as well as find me on Facebook, Yolanda Givens. Look for my face. We want to wish everyone a very, very happy holidays. Definitely there are resources out there. Take time to reflect on yourself and enjoy your family, and don't stress. Don't stress. Look forward to 2019. The Doty Report will be back in the spring of 2019. So stay tuned for us. Thank you all for tuning in to the Doty Report on Comprehensive Health.